Fools like them, they suss me out and then they ghost. Girls like me, I like a magnet to a nine.
Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is on how to sew women trouser. It's actually a palazzo trouser, the one you just watched now. So if this is what interests you, ensure to stay to the end so you can follow the step-by-step process in making this beautiful palazzo women trouser. I have a separate video on my channel on how to draft the pattern for this trouser. I will link it or drop it in the description box or somewhere on the screen, so you go watch it and follow up with this particular sewing video. So I went ahead to cut out the materials I need for this particular sewing project. I cut out the band, the full front trouser as well, giving the necessary allowance. This is the pocket area, and this is what I cut out from the pocket area. If you've watched the pattern drafting video, you understand better why I cut out this from the pocket area. So this is just the allowance I gave around the pocket area, and this is the pocket cover as well. I gave necessary allowance that I need for this particular pocket cover, and this is the pocket bag for this particular project. I gave the allowance already, and this is just the front trouser pattern. I gave 1 inch allowance around the side seam, and the inseam I gave just ½ inch allowance, and this is the dart, and I'll transfer the dart to the fabric when I'm about to sew it. And this is just for the front and the pockets area. And this is the back pattern that I brought in. I actually closed the dart so that it can lay flat. I don't want any dart line at the back area, so I gave ½ inch allowance at the inseam for the back, and also 1 inch around the side seam. And now we're going to unpin this front. We'll start with the front pattern. So we unpin the front now and do our joining and our stitches around it. So after unpinning it now, I'm just going to keep the paper aside, but the paper will be a guide to us when we are joining this. So I'll just bring in the paper back and now show you how we're going to join this particular pattern or this particular trouser. So this is me trying to adjust the dart to match. This is the dart area. I'm going to transfer the dart to the fabric, like transferring the dart to the fabric for the front. Like I said earlier, I didn't want the dart to be on the back. You can decide to close up the front dart as well, so that there won't be any dart line around the front area, but I just wanted the dart to be in the front for tutorial purpose. So this is me transferring the dart now to the fabric, and I'm just going to keep it there, and you can decide to notch it, yeah, but I'm just going to keep it there and then go ahead now to sew around the crotch area for the front. So I'll sew around the crotch area using the ½ inch allowance I gave while cutting it on fabric. So I'll sew around that area, and I'll show you what it looks like when I was done sewing it. I had to pin it just to hold it firm before going ahead to sew it. And this is the outcome when I was done sewing it. I sewed with ½ inch allowance that I gave, and this is just it for the front. And you can decide to interlock it, open the seam and press it open. So you can decide to do that and interlock it before going ahead to sew anywhere else. Just open up the seam this way and iron it. So this is just what you need to do. I'll bring in the pocket cover, and this is the pocket cover that I brought in now. So we're going to sew the pocket cover to the front. So I'll place it now front facing front for this side, and I'll place this other side to front facing front. So I'm just trying to arrange it before going ahead to stitch it around that area. So I'll use ½ inch allowance to stitch it around this area, and this was the outcome when I was done stitching it. So I've stitched it around that area, and what I need to do now is just to trim off the excess allowance I have there, just to trim off the excess there so it can lap when I'm folding it inside. So I'll trim it off now and notch it, just notch it around. Be careful so it won't cut your seam. So I'll just notch it this way, and I'll also do the same thing for the other side. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side pockets, just this way. And when I was done, I just have to fold it inside, yeah, and I'm just going to press it, like just arrange it, and at the same time press it to lay flat. And this is the outcome when I was done ironing it, and it's just laying flat and neat. So this is just the outcome when I was done doing that. After this, now I'll bring in the pocket bag, and this is the pocket bag, and I'm just going to unpin it this way, and I'm just going to place it front facing front for this other side. Just note the side that is your side front on the pocket bag, and the one that will fit into the side front for the other side of the pocket bag. So this is just what I'm trying to arrange it, just following the way the pattern is, and I turned it to the back to make it easier for me, and this is the way I'm arranging it, at the same time matching it up with the pocket cover. So this is it, and I'll just stitch around there. Yeah, I'll go ahead now to stitch around there, and I'll also do the same thing for the other side, just stitching around it there. And to this other side, I'm just going to stitch it around this other side, just the way I did for the other one. So this is the outcome when I was done stitching it, and you can decide now to interlock it there before going ahead to continue with this project, or you can still just leave it, but just don't be like me, just go ahead and interlock yours. Don't be like me that waited to the end before interlocking mine. So I will stitch it down at the side seam and the top part of it as well, but before I stitch the top part, I need to put in my darts. So I'm going to put in the dart line. I'll transfer this one I have here to this side, and this is the outcome when I was done doing that. I transferred the other dart to this other side as well, just to make it equal, and this is how neat it looks. And I pressed it down already so that it can relax better before going ahead to top stitch it. So I'll bring in the back, which is this one, and I told you I've already close the back darts on the pattern already before transferring to fabric. So this is me unpinning the pattern from the fabric. So repeating almost the same thing we did for the front, I'll go ahead to stitch around the crotch area for the back. This is the outcome when I was done stitching it, and I pressed it open, and you can decide to interlock it before pressing it open. So I'll bring in the front now, and this is it. I'm just going to join the front to the back now. So what we need to join first is the inseam. So we're going to join the inseam for this trouser first before joining the side seam. So now I'll bring in the front and the back inseam, and I'll place it front facing front to match each other, just this way. So I'll place the two crotch lines together for it to match each other, and I'll stitch it using 1/2 inch allowance that I gave while drafting on fabric or transferring to fabric. So I'll stitch it using the 1/2 inch allowance. I'll stitch it from there down to this other side for the leg, and after stitching that area, I'll go back to the crotch line again for the front and the back, the crotch line, and I'll stitch it also from there down to this other side. I just like doing my this way, it makes it easier. So this is the outcome when I was done stitching it. I used 1/2 inch allowance to stitch it. So this is just the outcome when I was done stitching everything. The crotch line for the front and the back also match each other using the technique I used in joining the seam. So this is just it now, and the next thing we need to do now is to join the side seams. And now I'll place it this way, and I'm going to join the side seam from there using the 1 inch allowance I gave. And I went ahead to join the side seams using 1 inch allowance, and to this other side I gave some space like 7 to 8 inches just for the zip before stitching it down. So I'll turn it inside out just the way I am doing right now. So this is how it looks like when I was done turning it inside out. So this is just the way it looks. I think now it looks like the trouser we saw earlier in this video. So this is just it now. And after arranging it everything, now it's time for us to do the band. So I'll go ahead now to bring in the band, and this is it. This is the band for this particular trouser. So I'll unpin it. This is this back band, and I'll unpin it just this way, and I'll notch the parts for the upper parts, just notching the upper parts just to know where is the up and the down. And I'll also notch the center back for the band just this way. I'll repeat the same thing for the front back. I'll notch the center front and the upper part of the front band. So I'll go ahead now to match it up, and I'm just going to join it center front to center front. Yeah, I'll stitch it around that area, and I'll also do the same thing center back to center back. You know, this is into 4, like I cut 4 pieces of each band. For the back is 4 pieces there, and for the front is 4 pieces. So I'm joining the center back and center back together. So I'm done joining the center back to center back and center front to center front. So to make it easier for us to understand, the front band will be on the right while the back band will be on the left. I'll separate the back band, and I'll also separate the front band. So we're having 1 pair of the front band and 1 pair for the back band. So I'm going to join it now. I'm going to join the back band to the front band side to side, and I'll stitch it there. I'll do the same thing for this other back band. I'll move over the back band on the left to the right, and I'll stitch it at that same place using 1 inch allowance for the side seam. To make it easier for us to follow, I differentiated the back band and the front band. I pinned the back band with yellow pin and the front with white pin, and this other side I pinned it with yellow pin as well for the back band. And to the front band I used a different color, which is purple, to pin it so that we can know that the yellow matches up with each other. So this is it when I was done joining the side seam for the back and the front. So this is just it. And now what we need to do next now is to match it up. The yellow pin is matching each other, and the white pin and the purple as well. So I'll match it up this way, yellow to yellow and the other different colors to each other. So knowing that this is the yellow side is for the back and the other side is for the front, so I'm going to make sure the notch parts match each other, and I'm just going to make sure everything matches each other and is going to align. I'll stitch it there using 1/2 inch seam allowance to stitch it, and this is the outcome when I was done stitching it. And I'm just going to, you know, trim off the excess and notch it as well as usual, just the way I do. So I'll trim off the excess right now and also go ahead to notch it. So when I was done trimming it off and notching the parts, I will open it up now, just ensuring that the line matches up with each other. So I'm just making sure the line matches up, and I'll go ahead now to press it open. And this is the outcome when I was done pressing it open. It's laying all flat. Everything matches each other. So you can decide to also join the pattern together like this before cutting on your fabric. Like, instead of having these joined lines on this one, you can join it on your pattern and cut it straight on your fabric. So this is it, and I'll bring in the trouser, and this is me trying to match up the band to the trouser. So now the yellow pin is for the back and this other color is for the front, so I'm matching up the front to the back for the band. So this is just it, the way I am matching it now, and I'm just going to start from that center to match up the center line to meet with the center for the front, just the crotch parts for the front. So I'm just going to join it this way, make sure it matches each other, and then place it on the front, and I'll pin it this way. I'll pin it all around there. This is another method you can use to join your band to your trouser. So I'm just going to show you this first method, then go ahead to show you the second method that you can also use. So I'll pin it up this way. I'll use the pin to just pin it round there and also to the back. So this is just what I'll do now. So this is the outcome when I was done pinning it round. You can decide to join your band this way before putting your zip, or you can go ahead with this second method I'll show you now. I'll just unpin it and show you the second method you can use to do that. So you can decide to just open up this the band and stitch it around there. Remember, I'm not stitching the band together. I'm just stitching just one side of the band. I'll just stitch it around to the back and just for it to go around it. And after doing that, this is the outcome when I was done stitching around it. And what I need to do now is just to fold it inside. I'll just go ahead to now top stitch on it using the other side of the band. So I'll top stitch it there. You can decide to top stitch it from the front or from the inside, just to make the outs look neat. And before then, I'll go ahead to the tip and place it this way and just sew around there. And to the other side, the allowance left there wasn't so much, so I'll just sew along there. So this is the outcome when I was done doing that. I already stopped stitch on it, just giving it a neat stitch and also press it down. So this is the outcome when I was done doing that. So it's all looking neat from the inside and from the outside as well. I went ahead to interlock it on the inside and I installed my zipper, and this is just how it looks on the inside. I did the necessary finishing needed in the inside of this trouser, and this is just how it looks. This is the front part of the trouser and also the back part of this trouser back. So this is just how it looks, and I will turn it over, flip it inside out, and this is just it looking all neat. And this is the zipper area that I already installed. So this is just how it looks, very neat and all. I also interlocked the down part of it and hemmed it. So this is just how it looks on the outside. And this is everything we worked on. If this tutorial was helpful to you, you can go ahead to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, click notification bell so you won't miss out more of my tutorial. Thank you, bye.